Welcome to an episode of Theological Sidebars. So listen, I'm just going to do something that I saw in the news this week, and I just think it's worth looking at. I initially was going to open up an article and just kind of go through, but it's an opinion piece. There's some stuff in there that I think they tie together some pieces that may or may not be fair to this article, but I do want to show you the post that has made some news. Especially it was all over my Twitter feed this past week, is something that happened last week in a Utah Chick-Fil-A. So here is the Chick-Fil-A Orem Plaza. And so let me just follow you, just scroll down just a tad for you. A little bit more, past this guy and past the cow, and boom, right there. Congratulations to the happy couple. Dougie and Toby recently got married, and we are so beyond happy for them. And of course, comments are turned off unless you are a friend of theirs for more than 24 hours, as I assume that this has been a big issue for them. Okay, what's going on there? If you look into some of the stuff I've seen on this, there's a lot saying that Chick-fil-A's gone woke and all of that. Now, granted, it's, I think, fair game. You go to Chick-fil-A.com and /DEI, it's there. They have a DEI department when a lot of places are starting to say, hey, we're not doing that anymore. Easy target, stuff like that. This is an absolute easy target. You have to say, what on earth is happening? I don't know what's happening. I have sensed there's been something going on with Chick-fil-A, but look, in all fairness, this is a local operator, and they're doing this, okay? So you could say, well, that's not Chick-fil-A itself, it's this Chick-fil-A that's doing it, and, Chick-fil-A still stands for biblical values, and, but here's the problem, right? This local chain thought that this would be an appropriate way to celebrate something like this, and so they did, and even now it's still not been taken down. Even now, I would understand, we screwed up, we put that there, and but now they left it up, and it's still there, and so it's all for everybody to see of what's going on at this Chick-fil-A. And so I think it's worth asking, what on earth are they thinking? What is going on here? Now, there are some who would say this has been a big, that Chick-fil-A has been crumbling from all the pressure, and they've finally given in, and they've given over to woke stuff. And you can read all sorts of stuff like that. And they'll point to things like, is it like 6 years ago they stopped funding Salvation Army, and they stopped funding FCA. I don't know if even those have anything to do with anything. Said also, if you look a little bit more, they say they give toward the Southern Poverty Law Center, which is a kind of a red flag on that, and they've given towards some other organization that they say has behind some drag queen story hour stuff. So there's a mess in stuff that they have contributed toward or things that they have not. And all of that, a lot of people want to put together and say, see, they've gotten rid of all the good organizations and they've moved towards something else. I don't think you can do that. I don't think that's fair, but I do think it's worth looking if anybody has access or can look into, what have they been doing? How have they changed? Now, granted, on their end, Chick-fil-A has said, we were going towards a new initiative, that we were not going to be so much focused on something like FCA and Salvation Army. If you look at the article, the Fox News, when this one came out 6 years ago, it said they would be focusing on initiatives that further its mission of nourishing the potential in every child. And so they were going to focus on junior achievement, Covenant House, that's the one that got some backlash, and then various food banks. And so they would still donate to faith-based and non-faith-based charities in the future. But of course, when you make a move like that, it makes a splash. It's going to make headlines. I don't know what's happening on that level, but I will say this. Here's what I think is happening on this level. This group has decided to post this. Chick-fil-A says they stand for biblical values. And so what is happening there? What is this all about? A couple of things, probably. There's a disconnect with happening at corporate, what happens their headquarters there, right? So obviously the people at the headquarters, let's just assume corporate, it's all fine and dandy, right? What's happening here? They don't share the same values, it seems, okay? And they're posting on their behalf, or they do share the same values, and they all know this, and this is why they're able to post it. Sometimes you wonder if things are left up there, if that's really why. But I think what this comes down to is if they do say that they still share biblical values, and they do say that they're still part of this team, and if these are supposed to be Christian operators, they may not be. I don't know how that works. I've heard on the of how it has in the past worked, or who they try to find that would cultivate and share the same values of their company, which is a smart thing to do. But why are they doing this? My thoughts are they're doing this they are on the spectrum of saying that we're going to win people over by being overly tolerant and overly accepting, and that we're going to err. And I've heard people say, if I'm going to err on one side, I'm going to err on the side of being loving. And what they mean for that is, for the most part, that we're loving towards anything and everything that is outside the spectrum of biblical Christianity, so that we might win them over to the gospel at some point, right? This is that same argument that people have of, how much should I be accepting of certain things? How much should I show approval? Or is it showing approval if I go to this or go to that? I think they have decided and chosen that they're going to err on the side of all things blessed, and hopefully that will win people over. My thoughts are, though, is I don't think that actually does anything. I think when you start to make yourself murky and you begin to say all things are cool and there's really nothing wrong, you be you explore your full potential, you offer nothing to anybody else. You just offer some squishy piece that's not even the faith. I think that's what's going on. I would venture to say that they are doing exactly what we see here in the scriptures, right? Woe to those who call evil good and good evil, who substitute darkness for light and light for darkness, who substitute bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. Woe to those who, it says, consider themselves wise and judge themselves clever. What a good caption for the ultimate Chick-Fil-A post there. What they have decided to do, what they have put their judgment on. I'm not saying, I don't even know the guys who are there posting. I don't know any of who these guys are, who they put the picture. I'm saying, though, the Bible's clear about this behavior. The Bible's clear that that's not marriage. The Bible's clear that that's not an accepted lifestyle, that that's not to be celebrated. And what we see is this Chick-fil-A has gone from the standard of, hey, I just want to love these people. We're going to show them love. And I think that's absolutely applaud. I want to applaud let's love on them. Let's spend what we can to embrace them. But what they have done is they have transgressed now by going further than just, I want to love these people, to I'm going to now applaud, and I'm going to promote, and I'm going to call what they're doing not by what it's really called. We're going to turn a blind eye to this. We're going to refuse to look at what the Bible says about this. And so I do think there's something to be thought here. There is a lesson to be learned here, which is, what are we going to stand on? And it may not be cool. You might not think that, people they shy away from this. They shy away from having any biblical standard. And people get nervous about this, about saying something else. But Jesus even told his followers that to claim him and his standard is going to bring something different. It's going to not bring popularity. You're not going to win people over by being witty or applauding everybody. It says, blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, for the kingdom of heaven is theirs. You are blessed when they insult you and persecute you and falsely say every kind of evil against you because of me. Be glad and rejoice, because your reward is great in heaven, for that is how they persecuted the prophets who were before you. Now, granted, somebody might say, hey, listen, Jesus never said anything about marriage or anything about same-sex relationships. Who are you to say that he's even talking about this? No, I think that what Jesus is getting at is to really have a biblical view, to really begin to live for him, to hold to the Bible standards is you're going to bring all sorts of condemnation against yourself from other people. They're going to say things against you. They're going to call you unloving. They're going to call you a bigot. They're going to slander you. And he says, don't worry about it. So I think there's a way to reach people like this. I think there's a way to love people like this. I think there's a way to speak to them. And I don't think that either of these ones work, of affirm, 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 or welcome, hello, how are you, condemn, condemn, condemn. But there needs to be a place where you say, this is not what God has wanted. This is not God's standard for you. This is not what God, and you have to share that piece at some point. Never, though, is the answer, I think, the affirm, applaud. Don't do what Isaiah says is call something that good, wicked, or wicked, good. Don't do that. So what I think they should have done, I think they should have kept their mouth shut. But I think it does reveal a real debate that people are having. And in this case, I think they have gone way over the line. Is whatever they have felt about their approach, they have now gone from, and I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt here, right? They might not even be thinking about this. But if they're saying, I'm doing this for an evangelistic person, we want to love on this, they have now gone beyond and have transgressed as a result. All right. That's all I got. Thanks for listening. If you got any more stuff on this, if you've got some of those articles about what they're giving, if there's maybe something much larger, if this is a bigger deal than just simply one Chick-fil-A, if you think there's more, I would love to see some of that evidence. I don't want to say anything of that without knowing. Just like I said, all you can really get on this is some of the op-ed stuff and then the actual Facebook post. So I'm going to throw that out there. All right, we'll talk to you later. Thanks for listening.